Hi everybody, it's Josh, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a relatively inexpensive dice tower. This is just about $5 worth of stuff, and honestly, it's pretty. Now if you've never used a dice tower, don't know what a dice tower is, a dice tower is a tower that you take dice and drop it in. This is good for D&D, other tabletop games, things of that nature. Let's take a look. So, as usual, I'm Josh, and this is Josh Got Bored. So, we're going to build the dice tower now. So we're going to need some basic supplies, like cardboard. You don't really need that much. We need barbecue skewers. I personally prefer the bamboo ones, just because I like the look of them. They're a little sturdier. We're going to need a measuring device. Ruler, I prefer metal ones. They last longer, but anything with notches that you can measure. You're going to need some sort of knife. I prefer an X-Acto knife, ideally with a fine point. We are going to need a glue gun and glue sticks, not all that much, and ideally a pair of scissors. I can't find any because X-Acto knife. We talked about this just a moment ago. I've covered this in other videos, but I'm going to cover it again because why not? So, knife stabs things. Don't be the thing it stabs. So the big thing is we cut away from ourselves. When I say ourselves, torso, body, limbs assorted. Cut away from the hand. Yes, that is a limb, but you view normally the self as one structure, the hands as one thing, so ride with me on this crazy train. So, cut away, not towards, not towards. This is why we own Band-Aids. This is why we have ambulances. This is not a project for small children. Not for small children. Stabby, stabby, bad. So, let's start the build. So, I found some scissors. That only took forever. Notice this green awful surface. We're using a cutting board just because I like my desk. And pen. The two items I forgot to mention because, you know, forgetful. So we are going to first establish our base. So using our bad example, this is our bad example. We have a square base. You can use any shape you really want. If you want to make it a cylinder, by all means, square's just easy. And that's going to be our starting point. So there's a bunch of extra junk on here because I had to fix it repeatedly, but we're just making a very simple square. So I'm just going to measure out a size I like. So the next thing we're going to do is look at our spacing. Now the spacing is based on our dice. Most of the dice I'm dealing with aren't much more than 20 millimeters. Now, if you're used to Imperial Standard, or Standard, as Americans typically call it, metric's a little tricky, but 20 millimeters is 2 centimeters. It's not all that big. So I just need a spacing that is smaller than this. So now that we have our piece and the punches on the other side, we can use this as a template. So we're going to cut another 4-inch by 4-inch piece, or what was it, 10 millimeters by, no, 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. Okay, so now I have two squares, which is the bulk of what I need. However, on our horrible example, you notice there's an opening. So we're going to make one of those here. So we have our square punched out on both sides. These are our two main construction pieces, our cap and our top. So the next we're going to need is our paddles. So what is the paddle? Well, as the dice falls, it has to hit something. So as it drops down, it hits a little ramp that falls, hits another ramp, and this gives us the nice kaplunk kaplunk. So we're going to make some of those. So we have our little bumpers, or ramp pieces. Now, I'm not going to just go over and punch holes, because these are not going to be sitting parallel. These are going to be sitting offset. So I need to be able to draw the holes correctly for this offset piece. Now, for along here, I will be lining up with the same bars. So I do want those to line up correctly. So there is a trick to this, and I will show you in just a second. So we have the lines drawn out. Now on my bumper I've already drawn a set of lines. Now this will be hooking up to the first set of rails. I should point it like this, and then it's going to tilt. So to get the whole lengths, we are going to line up our first set, and then we figure out the rough angle we're going to want. So if I were to raise it just so you can see a little bit better, we use the back line here where my thumb is to line up with our first set of bars, and then figure out approximately what angle we want. So I'm going to do it about there. Now, since I'm going to mark this side, I should probably let you actually see what I'm doing. So I can see my first line goes there. Actually, I want that angle. My next line is here and here. And since we did the measurements on all the other bars, these should line up decently. Should. So now we have our base, we have a top, we have our bumpers, and we are going to need our last bumper and our gate. So I'm going to show you how to make those. So for the last bumper, we're going to do another 10 centimeter square. So this is our last bumper or ramp. So we want this to eject everything from our tower. So we got to make sure it covers this space. So we need at least a 45-degree angle for the last bumper. The other ones can be shallower or they can be deeper, but this one we need everything out. So we are going to figure that one out. Now, this set of lines is going to line up nicely. However, we want this just steep enough where, I mean, we can have it punch through these lines, but it's not really a requirement. This set, yes. So, let's just cheat a little. So we have the set of holes for the back of the ramp. So we are going to go back to this piece here. Now, I just want to make sure this is... Okay, cool. So I did count out my numbers right. So I don't want to have to put holes along here because I'm lazy. So what I'm going to do is make sure that my holes here line up with this first line, and that this piece is at a steep enough angle it doesn't intersect with this line. So this is a pretty good angle. It's pretty steep. So we are just going to... Yeah, there. I like that. Okay, so we have our final bumper done. Now we just have to build the gate. all our cardboard pieces cut, punched, assorted. We have our skewers, and we've heated up the glue gun. Thank you, time-lapse. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to take our meat skewers. Now I'm just going to have the sides with all the markings down so it looks prettier, and we're going to start shoving these through. So one of the ways I like to cheat when I'm lining things up is just to put it on the ground for a sec. Now if you've noticed, I haven't glued these all in, only the first one, for that reason. But now, since these are lined up where I want them, we can glue those. Okay, so we've got all three sides done. So we're going to install the ramp first. Now the important thing to remember is when we did the spacing, we didn't want it to be in the first row of spikes. So we are going to count one back and then make sure to insert the rest in. Now this is the part of the build which is technically the easy bit and the horrible bit. So enjoy the process. We install the gate. So the gate, as I said, is the opening where the dice come out. You don't want it too low because your dice will get trapped. And you want it high enough where the dice can exit, but it looks nice. So that's going there. We're going to put in our next ones, and then we're going to put these in last. So let's do the ramps. So I have a couple slight deflections. So here, here, and then hits the final one and comes out. And then we're going to add the top. So we have our basic structure. It looks something like a dice tower. So at this point, we're going to use our glue gun just to fix some of these pieces before we put in our final pieces. We just want this a little more stable, and then Bob's your uncle. We'll be there. I've done the physical construction. For this last bit, I'm just working these in and finishing that off to get this front plate, and then use the scissors to trim those off. Apparently, the camera stopped recording during that, so we are done. Oh. Hi, so we're back. So we are about to stain this. Now, for the stain I'm just using a simple mid-wax. Yet again, standard, we're going to use some PPE. So, gloves. This stuff isn't really going to burn your skin, but it's just a good, clean thing to do. Apron. This is just to keep the clothes clean. The nice thing about this stuff is it's not particularly toxic or anything evil. However, I am doing this out in the garage with the main and back door open to get a cross breeze, just because this stuff will off-gas some things you don't really want to breathe. Beyond that, for PPE, we are doing a little cardboard, keep the workbench clean, and just an old garbage brush. So, nothing special. So, yeah, this stuff just goes on like paint. Now I've taken the liberty of shaking this up beforehand, but if you're going to shake a small can like this, hold it firmly like this, not this, and shake, just because if you do it like this and the lid's not on, no fun.